Imagine you're standing beside a river somewhere in Africa. A lion walks down to the water. It lowers its head and starts drinking. Just a few yards away, a massive crocodile is floating almost completely still. These are two animals powerful enough to kill almost anything around them. If this were a dramatic wildlife documentary, you probably already know what you'd expect next. The lion growls. The crocodile explodes out of the water. And suddenly, there's a brutal fight. But in the wild, most of the time, nothing happens. The lion drinks, it lifts its head, then it walks away. The crocodile slowly disappears beneath the surface. No winner, no loser. And most importantly, no injuries. So that raises a strange question. Why do some of the most powerful predators on Earth often avoid fighting each other? It's not because they're weak, it's because in the wild, winning a fight can still get you killed. A lion chases a gazelle. It misses. The gazelle gets away. The lion burns some energy, rests for a while, and maybe tries again tomorrow. But fighting another predator is completely different. One bite to the leg, one claw across the eye, one broken tooth, one deep wound in the shoulder. For us, that might mean a trip to the hospital. For a lion, there's no doctor. Balief, no antibiotics. A leopard can't take 2 weeks off while someone brings food to its bed. If its leg gets injured, it runs slower. If it runs slower, it misses more hunts. If it can't hunt, it gets weaker. And eventually, an animal that won the fight today could still starve a few weeks later. So for an apex predator, the real question isn't, can I beat this animal? It's, even if I win, what is this going to cost me? And over millions of years, predators that made the wrong choice often didn't survive long enough to pass on their genes. The cautious ones did. That's why top predators don't just avoid unnecessary fights. Many of them organize their entire lives around not running into their rivals in the first place. Take a look at the African savanna. You have lions, leopards, cheetahs, hyenas, African wild dogs. They all need meat, they all hunt, and many of them go after similar prey. So why aren't they fighting each other every single day? Because instead of competing head-on, they often find ways to stay out of each other's way. A leopard may drag its kill into a tree. Up there, it's much harder for a lion or a pack of hyenas to steal the meal. Cheetahs may become more active during hotter parts of the day, when some larger predators are less active. African wild dogs can cover huge distances. If an area becomes too dangerous because lions are nearby, they can move somewhere else. Scientists have a term for this kind of behavior: niche partitioning. But the basic idea is actually pretty simple. If meeting your competition might get you hurt, hunt somewhere else. And if you can't hunt somewhere else, hunt at a different time. Which brings us to something even more interesting. Some predators almost seem to work different shifts. In some parts of the Americas, jaguars and pumas can live in overlapping territory. Two powerful predators, similar habitats, some of the same prey. But that doesn't mean they have to keep running into each other. If one species is more active during certain hours, the other may shift more of its activity to a different part of the day. The separation isn't always perfect, but even reducing the number of encounters can lower the risk of conflict. Think of it like two people sharing the same office. One works the day shift, the other works nights. They don't have to fight over the room, they just have to avoid being there at the same time. But there's one place where this strategy becomes even more dramatic. Off the coast of California, where one of the most feared predators on Earth can suddenly disappear, just because something else shows up. Every year, great white sharks gather around certain areas off the California coast to hunt seals. A large great white can be several meters long. It's fast, it's powerful, and it has one of the most terrifying sets of jaws in the ocean. To us, it looks like the perfect top predator. Then, the orcas arrive, and the great whites disappear. Not after a long battle, not after one shark gets killed in front of the others. Tracking data has shown great white sharks leaving an area very quickly after orcas arrive. Some may stay away for a long time. Think about that. The great white doesn't stick around to find out. Which one of us is stronger? It doesn't need the answer. The risk alone may be enough. Maybe the shark sees the orca as a direct threat. Maybe it doesn't want to compete for the same food. Or maybe the calculation is even simpler. If there's another place to hunt that's safer, why stay here? That's not necessarily cowardice. That's risk management. If you think great whites leave mainly because they're afraid of orcas, comment 1. If you think it's mainly a survival decision based on risk, comment 0. But now we have another problem. Avoiding each other through space works. Avoiding each other through time works. But what happens when two powerful predators actually end up face to face? Two predators are standing across from each other. No tree to climb. No river separating them. No easy way to pretend the other animal isn't there. You might expect the fight to start immediately, but before teeth and claws come out, something else usually happens first. Signals. One animal stands taller. Its body becomes stiff, its ears change position, its teeth become visible. Its eyes lock onto the other animal. Maybe there's a growl, one step forward, then a pause. The other animal responds. To us, this looks like the moment right before violence. But in another sense, it's an exchange of information. I'm not weak, I can fight back. If you come at me, you're getting hurt too. The animals don't have to understand those sentences the way we do. Their bodies are saying it for them. And after a few tense seconds, one animal may turn away. Sometimes both slowly separate. Because a fight between two powerful opponents rarely produces a perfectly clean winner. One animal may win, but lose an eye, break a tooth, damage a leg, or suffer a bite that later becomes infected. In the wild, any one of those injuries could change the rest of its life. So walking away doesn't necessarily mean, I know I'm going to lose. It may simply mean, there's nothing here worth paying that price for. If avoiding conflict works so well, why do lions sometimes kill other predators? Why can wolves kill coyotes? Why do territorial fights still happen? Because sometimes, the calculation changes. Imagine a brutal dry season. Prey starts disappearing. Water becomes scarce. Hunting territory gets smaller. Now walking away has a cost too. If avoiding your rival means losing access to the last reliable food source, then the risk of starvation may become greater than the risk of injury. That's when fighting becomes more likely. But even then, predators usually aren't looking for some fair heroic battle. They may ambush, attack when they have the advantage, target a weaker individual, strike quickly, and leave. Because the goal isn't, I need to prove I'm the strongest. The goal is, I need to solve this problem with the least possible risk. That's very different from the battles people love to imagine. Lion versus tiger. Shark versus orca. Tiger versus crocodile. Nature isn't running a championship tournament. It doesn't care who looks tougher. It rewards the animal that survives. An apex predator doesn't have to defeat every other powerful animal it meets. A lion only needs to survive long enough to keep hunting. A leopard only needs to protect enough food to stay alive. A shark only needs to find a hunting ground that works. And a wolf doesn't need to prove it can win every confrontation. Over millions of years, nature hasn't only favored strength. It has also favored animals that know when to use that strength. That's why so many dangerous encounters can end without a single drop of blood being spilled. And maybe there's a small lesson in that for us too. Not every insult needs an answer. Not every argument needs a winner. Sometimes you could fight, but you decide the cost just isn't worth it. In nature, that's not weakness. That's survival. Now go back to the river from the beginning. The lion sees the crocodile. It knows exactly how powerful it is. It hasn't forgotten its teeth. It hasn't forgotten its claws, it hasn't forgotten its strength, but it finishes drinking and walks away. Not because it can't fight, but because it knows something even more important. A predator doesn't survive by winning every fight. It survives by knowing which fights never needed to happen in the first place. So what do you think? Comment 1. If you believe avoiding an unnecessary fight is a sign of intelligence. Comment 0 if you think a true apex predator should always be willing to fight to defend its position. And subscribe to Animal Y for more surprising truths about animal behavior that we often misunderstand.